here with Adam Smith for fightpost.co.uk.
Hi there.
How surprised were you that this fight got made between Crawford and Khan?
Not particularly surprised. I think Amir had two or three options, and listen, he always wants to chase the best fights in the world, and he's always been like that. I'm in between with this because I'm disappointed that the Kell Brook fight hasn't happened, but I understand why Amir's taken the big challenge. He did it before with Canelo. We were very close to the fight between Brook and Khan happening sort of two and a half years ago. He took the Canelo option, and he went for the big man, the big move up in weight, and boxed very well for a few rounds. And obviously, it didn't end out the way he wanted it to. And I think he's always chased the likes of Mayweather and Pacquiao. He's been let down in that department before. He's got the chance to fight Terence Crawford in the States in a huge fight against one of the best, if not the best, pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Good luck to him. It's a huge challenge. He's a big underdog. It's a wonderful opportunity, though. But of course, it's bittersweet because we'd have loved to have had the Brook fight over here in Britain. I personally believe they could have fought 2-3 times and finished their careers together. But boxing's not easy, and that fight could still happen. You never say never in the sport, but unfortunately, it's further away than ever.
So do you believe this fight, I mean, obviously domestically Khan Brook would have been huge, but do you think sort of on the global scene this is a bigger fight for Khan, or would you say kind of...
It's a difficult way of looking at it because in Britain, boxing's flying, boxing's buzzing, boxing's thriving. We've just had the Eubank and DeGale fight announced on ITV in February. We're looking at doing AJ and Dillian. We're looking at massive sort of domestic grudge matches, and there's a huge narrative between Kell Brook and Amir Khan that goes back years. We had them on ringside, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and this has been bubbling for a long time, and you just don't want them to not meet each other. Having said that, obviously stateside, Terence Crawford is a big name, and he's hugely important in the sport of boxing. So as I say, I can understand why Amir is doing this. He wants to fight in America. He wants to fight the biggest names, and that's what's happening again. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the fight for the fight fans here. But look, if he goes off and he wins this world title and pulls off an upset over Terence Crawford, then he's in a phenomenal position. And who knows? It's up to Kell Brook now to dust off the disappointment and try and find a world title through another route. Maybe he stays at super welterweight and doesn't bother coming down to welterweight, which I think would have been a problem for him. I didn't like it when he came down again for the Spence weight making, and that didn't work out for him. So I'd like to see him stay at super welter, and if Amir's a natural welterweight, then maybe they are best on different paths. But I think it is a disappointment that fight fans will be missing out on one of the great rivalries that so far has never happened.
I mean, obviously Khan's going to start as an underdog for this fight. Do you believe it's a fight that he can win? Obviously he's going to have a speed advantage, but Crawford brings a lot of other advantages as well. Do you think it's one Khan can? It's
an interesting one. I've most of the stuff I've read doesn't give Amir a chance at all in this fight, and can't really understand why he's taking it. I think that's harsh. Khan's got huge attributes, and still, probably the fastest hands of any fighter in or around his weight. The legs, I'm not sure, are quite as quick as they once were, but look, he's always exciting. He always starts so very quickly, and he's dangerous early. And Crawford, he's a brilliant technician. He's a brilliant fighter. But, our own Ricky Burns took him the distance, and he's had one or two sort of slightly lethargic performances. And if Khan gets him on a bad night, he has got a chance. He's got an opportunity probably in the first few rounds to really make a statement. But I really rate Terence Crawford, and I think it's a very hard ask for him.
They're talking about potentially matching Kell Brook with Jeff Horn. Would that be a fight that you think would be a good fight for Brook? Or?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of good fights for Kell Brook out there. Liam Smith's just joined the Matchroom stable as well. That's a really interesting one on the domestic scene. I think Kell's going to be bitterly disappointed that he finally thought he'd get Amir in the ring because they both had signed for Matchroom and they were under one umbrella. And I think there's a lot of people behind the scenes, Eddie and I, two of them, who are really desperately trying to make this fight happen. So I think Kell will be upset. But he always said he didn't think it would happen, deep down. So look, he's got to ask himself. He gave a very average performance the other week in Sheffield. He needs a name. He needs a challenge. So I think he'll fight for a big fight either stateside or here within the next 3 or 4 months, and hopefully for a world title. And as I said, he needs to get his own career up and running again, because I don't think there's a lot of time for either of them. So these next sort of 12 to 18 months are vital.
Obviously Crawford's ranked number 2 pound for pound. Do you think the winner of this fight potentially has a case to say that they're kind of maybe pound for pound number 1, or?
I mean, for me, Vasyl Lomachenko is the best fighter in the world. I want to see him in with Mikey Garcia, but Terence Crawford's right up there, and you've got to put Alexander Usyk, and several of others will have their cases as well. But I think that, for me, Terence Crawford is right, 2 or 3 probably. But Vasyl Lomachenko is, I think he's an unbelievable talent. I've been lucky enough to see him in the amateurs and commentate on him, in his early professional days as well, and I think he's very, very special. So for me, he's my number 1 pound for pound. Having said that, if we're allowed to have favourite fighters being broadcasters, and at Sky, one of my favourites is Mikey Garcia, and so I'd love to see Garcia and Lomachenko fight. But there's lots of other good fights happening already. Errol Spence is right up there in the list. He's got big fights ahead. So there's Pacquiao Broner this weekend, and there's lots happening. Will Floyd come back? Huge in and amongst those sort of weights, and maybe that's where Amir wants to be stateside. So we wish him well.
Yeah, he's definitely right in the mix. Thanks a lot for your time.
No problem.